Welcome to the video where I'm breaking down the best 3 live reads ever in poker televised history. I'm gonna kind of skate through the first 2 because most people have seen them. The third one is bananas. And most people haven't seen it, which is crazy. And it isn't from a person that you might expect, but it is from a person who is definitely a contender for being the best human in the world at live reads. It's a sick lineup. Enjoy the video. Now, I consider myself a master at live tells and live reads, but I'm going to go through the top 3 best live reads ever made on TV, and I don't make any of the top 3. The first one we're going to look at is by none other than Phil Ivey himself. Let's look at how he handles the relatively young and new Lex Veldhouse.
Got a lot of respect at this table.
Barry's going to step out here and raise to 5,500 with Queen 10 offsuit. Phil Ivey suspects something. Raises Barry. We have another air Ivey hand. Ivey suspects that Barry was out of line, and he's right. But it looks like Lex, who's got a decent hand, suspects that they're both out of line, and he's right. Look at them. They look like suspects. Nice play by Lex. 51-6.
51-6 total.
How much more are you playing?
51,600.
I think Phil Ivey's posturing here,
110,
asking Lex how much he has.
140 something? 130, 140 more?
Doesn't want Barry to know he raised him with air.
I'm all in.
I don't believe it.
Was all in.
I don't believe it. Phil Ivey just went all in with a 5-deuce offsuit. I don't believe it. That is one of the great bluffs
Nice hand.
in the history of high-stakes poker. What a move.
All these super good spots that keep coming up.
Lose
Too
50
good.
each one.
Yeah, it's like, it's a really good spot though. Like,
It's never a super good spot when you're against a superpower.
What makes this read so special is that the level of certainty that he needs to have about Lex's tell is like 90% for this to be a plus EV play. Think how, like mathematically, think how certain you need to be that your opponent isn't just about to snap call with aces.
You got the aces! Yeah.
Which shows you exactly how certain one can be, especially if you're Phil Ivey, about certain live tells. Now, I actually know exactly which live tell he looked at. And in fact, I'm going to be going through this in one of my courses. By the way, I'm doing a free live tell webinar coming up real soon. Details, it's free. It's sign up in the description below. Number 2. Now, this is a classic hand. We'll play through it relatively quickly because you've probably seen it 1.5 million times. And interestingly enough, it's a tell that ends up, he gets it wrong. But what makes this hand so special is that he even thinks about it.
I'm easily punishable. There's many weaknesses in my game that people can exploit. You can ask Dur about them. He'll give you the list.
when's Barry getting
You
here?
might have to pay him something.
Come from these though.
Both Phil and Antonio are goading Juan into raising here, hoping that he doesn't. But he does.
And enter the wild card madness card.
After the hand place, if I just call there instead of raising, we're likely to have 4 colors.
See if Mr. Ivey puts in that blue chip. Nope, it's 5 white chips.
It looks quite baller with Ivy's stacks of money and chips. It's most baller.
Juan misses. Phil Ivey's got a huge draw, nut flush draw, and an inside straight draw. A little $45,800 continuation bet. Ivey is analyzing the hand. He just calls. 3 of spades on the turn. About as blank as you can get. The man with 9 high bets 123-2. Phil Ivey has a big decision now. He decides to call. I think he's calling for 2 reasons. 1, he feels he can get paid off if he hits his hand. And 2, there's a small chance that Juan is completely airballing. Ivey makes a pair of 6s on the river. He is loading the gun. He fires. 268,200.
How much is that and how much do you have left?
How about 280 left?
Juan's voice was a little shaky there. He did not want to hear any inquiries from Phil Ivey. You can see that Phil Ivey is not showboating. He is seriously contemplating a call here with a pair of 6s.
Wait till you see how long, wait till y'all see what I have that I'm taking this long. I'm not gonna,
I think I know what it
believe
is.
this one. No, you don't.
Yeah, I think I do.
Juan really looks nervous. What Phil Ivey's trying to decide is he really nervous or is he acting nervous? The truth is, he is really nervous.
Can't be nothing. Except for that.
Can't be nothing except what Tom Juan has.
Okay.
Oh, that one hurt.
Again, Phil Ivey coming in at the number 2. He really might be the absolute GOAT for these things, just for the pure longevity and the certainty that he had in his reads. Being able to look down this very aggressive player where he really beats nothing. Like, there are, as he says, he almost beats nothing apart from what you have. And it's just one of the most iconic live tells I've ever seen in my life. And again, I know exactly which lifestyle he's looking for. Phil Ivey has spoken publicly about this in some not very well-known interviews. And he really does speak about a few of these lifestyles with very high regard. And you can look back at this footage. It's all there to be seen. I ain't going to be giving all of these out for free. Phil Ivey ain't going to give these all out for free. And nor is the person that's coming in at number 1. Number 1, we see this hand. I'm going to break it down. I've been playing a lot of heads up recently. I can actually break this down with reasonable certainty of how it's meant to be played. We get Andrew Chen raising the button with 4 deuce suited and Davide Katai defending ace 3 of clubs. So we see a raise on the button and a defend in the big blind. Ace 3 suited is probably a little bit too good to 3-bet at the stack depth, so calling completely fine. You don't want to get 4-bet off your hands, and you don't really want to build a pot. You don't get that much money if you hit an ace, and if you're going to hit a flush anyway, you might as well see it in a smaller pot because you can still make the pot as big as you need to anyway. Jack 7-5 with 4 deuce here. I would probably actually just check. It's very easy to over c-bet, but back in these days, like this was a long time ago, people just c-bet near 100%. So I'm expecting we're going to see a c-bet. Katai always looking at his opponent, always getting these kind of reads in all of the spots. And this is what really makes a difference between somebody that's pretty good at live tells and somebody that is at the top level. At every single point in a poker hand, there is more information to be got. You can either, as most people do, just try and get a read on the river, or you could try and get a read pre-flop, or even when they look at their hand, then their pre-flop action, then when the flop comes out, then when they do something with their bet, then when the turn comes out. Then there's so many other data points. And somebody who is a master at live reads and live tells will be looking the entire time at their opponent. Davide Katai has this thing where I've seen it with so many people that do live tells, You know, some people make a very big deal out of looking, or that they have to look so closely that they really, you know, they do this. Sometimes some people just kind of do this and they'll look up like this. And I've experimented with both a lot. I think it depends on the situation. I've also seen Davide go for more of a stare. This thing is kind of nice because it's a lot harder at this angle for people to see what you're looking at. If you like imagine somebody sitting here and I'm looking into their eyes, or let's say I'm looking at their ear, it's like very obvious. Whereas if I'm down here and I'm looking up, I could be looking at kind of anywhere from there. It's very hard for them to tell exactly where I'm looking. So if you have like a solid read on your opponent, making sure that you're kind of, you know, hiding exactly where you're looking at, or even like pretending to look at somewhere else. I did this thing once where I had this stone cold read on this high stakes player, and so did my friend Ben, and we kind of trolled him by staring at his hands the whole time and then making these sick reads against him.
My hands tell a story.
And eventually he was so uncomfortable with his hands, he didn't know what to do, and he was just really keeping him as still as possible.
If there's someone to point the finger at, it would be his brother! Oh my God! Oh my God, nobody look!
But the read was complete other thing. It had nothing to do with his hands. So Katai makes this call. It's too loose theoretically, but if you do have a good read on your opponent for multiple reasons, maybe you think you can make good reads on rivers or turns, or just in general you think he might be weaker on the flop because of something you saw, this can be completely fine. Obviously the GTO nerds will tell you this is probably a little bit too loose. You just have so many hands that hit this board, you can let go of the ace highs.
Oh, that's my mistake then. I was just looking at the strength of Kitai's hand and I was like, and looking at the pot size, but I just miscalculated. But it's a pretty strong hand to 3-bet there, Bree, but he didn't, so now we're on the turn.
So 9 of spades, you definitely don't want to keep barreling. If you are Chen, you just have all of the bluffs in the world. You have any 10, any 6, any 8s making these gutshot straight draws. You have spades, you have some open-enders. You got so many, you got some overcards. You know, there's just a million combos of bluffs. You don't want to be taking these zero equity bluffs. And you're quite right, checks back. So the 10 comes in, and now Katai's pretty much got the worst hand he can possibly have here. Like maybe he can have something like 3-4, but really everything's hit a pair or better. And so it makes a lot of sense for him to bluff. I think he could probably even make a jack fold at this point. Imagine, you know, Chen has like jack 3. I think you can definitely get him to fold that. So Katai goes for the fantastic bluff. And you have to wonder, where is this going? It gets cool. Like this, there's a reason I think this is the best live read in the world that's ever been televised ever. So Katai bets 550,000. What Chen is thinking here is, okay, he's bet kind of small. I can still have an 8. I'm going to try and get him off 2-pair. I'm going to try and get him off a smaller straight or something along those lines. Maybe he's bluffing with a 5. All of those hands are going to be folding. Let me represent this 8.
A reminder of chip denominations. Blues are 5, yellows 25, green and blacks 100,000 each. So those are raising chips.
This is really big. I mean, it's probably raised to about 1.2 or so, which is basically a click back here, a min raise. Because there's no reason to bet more. Because Katai either has a straight here or he has nothing. And in any regards, if he has nothing, if he doesn't have the straight, he can't call any raise.
And he raises to 1.5. And now one thing you are doing is you're giving Davide pot odds. He's getting 3.5 to 1. Like, it's just fantastic pot odds. He doesn't need to be right very often to make this call, but nobody would ever call here. He's got ace high and he bet and got raised on the river. Everybody and their grandma and their dog and their aunt would just snap fold. They wouldn't even think about it. They wouldn't even consider it. But what does Davide see? Now again, replay, he's been looking on every street. Maybe he saw absolute weakness when Chen was on the river. Maybe he saw complete disinterest in the hand. So now he's thinking, okay, if he is disinterested for some reason or another, what kind of hands could he have? Would he have some kind of pair that he's turning into a bluff on? Probably not. Even a 7 is going to be relatively interested because he still beats Davide's bluffs. Is he going to have, what bluffs can he have? Well, they can actually have some queen highs and some king highs and some undercards, only a few of those. So it's actually a decent amount of hands that he could have. He could also be checking back something like 6 deuce on the turn, something, you know, something that had a little something, but decided wasn't enough. So there are enough bluff combos here when you think about it. Heads up really is a different beast. I've been playing it a lot, like I've said, and it's just, you have to remember there's just a lot of combos in all of the spots, basically. But Davide he's something else. Just watch the rest of this. You already know what's coming, but it's just so beautiful.
would be a fantastic call when you take a line to bluff the river and end up calling the raise for value.
Hey, you think he's bluffing the river? Maybe he always thought ace high was good, and it was a value bet.
He's betting to induce.
Yeah.
Do you think it's smart to get involved in this kind of leveling game in this stage of heads up?
I usually don't go this deep into it, and this many raises back and forth on the river as a bluff. I mean, wow.
Wow.
That is the call of the day. That's just fantastic call. He must have some sick read on Andrew Chen right now.
That's insane.
So that is the top 3 best live tail poker hands. There's probably other ones that I've missed, and if you want me to break down some of those, please let me know in the comments. If there are any hands in particular you want me to break down, I'm not going to be giving away all of the secrets for free. I love speaking about live tails. I really feel the poker world is about to change, and we're about to discover and unlock this whole new forest. You know, we've had the GTO phase, but everyone's got very good at mathematics, and I think the next phase, people are going to get fantastic at live tails. So if you want to be part of the generation of people that crush live tails, come learn it. I'm teaching them at eliteuniversity.com. I'll see you there. Peace.